Well, hello, my master of puppets.
Oh, Mister.
Are you the master of puppets?
Maybe, but you know who might be.
Ooh, who?
Who? It's Javier, the harvester of sorrow.
Oh, that's scary.
It's about agency redemption and nothing else matters.
I didn't know whether you're going to go up or down.
Well, let's pull the puppet strings, Master Puppet, Mr.
Dun, 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 dun,
Puppet Craig.
dun, 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 dun.
Buckle up, it's the Insurance Dudes podcast.
Hey, Craig, this year I got some crazy growth goals for my agency, and actually I've been talking to a few other agents. They got some crazy growth goals. So can you tell me a little bit about what you're doing that's just crushing it in your agency right now?
Yeah, well, we're doing a lot of internet data leads through a company called EverQuote, and they're actually one of our sponsors.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, part of the Accelerated Growth Program, which includes having your own consultant that's going to go over your results, and it's positioned to make those leads cost less so that you have lower acquisition costs. It makes it totally doable.
Awesome. And so what has been your favorite parts about it so far?
I like the visibility into the results, and being able to compare what the numbers that they get on their side with the numbers that I get on my side, and seeing that they mesh up. So we know that the data is correct, and that we're actually in a cost per policy or cost per sale that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah,
Cool.
They make it real easy to track. And you know what? Guess what? They gave us a deal to offer to all of the insurance dudes and dudettes out there.
Oh, I got to know about this.
Yeah, all you need to do is go to go.everquote.com/insurance dudes. That's go.everquote.com/insurance dudes.
And they give all the insurance dudes out there a killer price on this. So I'm signing up.
I'm so hungry. Here we go.
I just ate a ton.
Oh, you can message people now in here. That's pretty cool. Let's go.
Well, ain't that the cat's pajamas?
It is the cat's pajamas. You know who else is the cat's pajamas?
Who?
Javier. Najera. Whoa.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Oh, that's
Where are you?
There
you are.
he is. Look at this guy.
how you doing?
Good. How you
Javier.
doing, man?
Good. Could I have 1 second to send the report to someone real quick?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
What report?
A termination report. We do this. We do this as part of our.
multitask.
Yeah.
that's part of how you get rid of people.
Yeah. No, as part of
Oh,
how
yeah,
we bring
that-
them back.
No, I'm just kidding.
How you
I
guys
thought
doing?
you were sending the termination report to one of your staff.
Right.
Tell them they no longer work for you.
No, that's not the way I handle that part. I like
Yeah.
to be in front of them just in case. All right.
Pull a
You
gun out.
send them to the funeral home?
Oh my gosh.
That's what
the
you
best
do.
place to meet. That's where you should meet to terminate.
Yeah, just be like, hey, meet me down at the parlor.
Here's your casket.
Nobody would go in.
Oh,
That's true.
They outthink you on that one.
Excuse me. That's funny, man.
Yeah.
Javier,
Yeah.
so you're down in Texas.
I am. Arlington, which is right in the middle of Dallas, Fort Worth.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Somehow
race
we
there.
ended up with a Dallas Cowboys stadium. Technically 2 baseball stadiums, although one is now going to be a football stadium now. We have
So then you'll have 2 football stadiums and
Right.
one baseball.
um,
Funny how things turn.
but Arlington is literally wedged in between, but it all ended up being here mostly because people just did the right things and we just got the right contracts, I guess. But so I live about 3 miles west of all of that. I can literally walk to Jerry's World every Sunday, and I take a lot of people over there, sort of Uber them without charging them, but they
Walk
park in my
3
house
miles.
and So anyway, that's where I am. That's where the agency is. This is where I lived since 1992.
Oh, crazy. So let's go back. First question we ask everybody. What was your first concert?
That's a good story for me. And I don't think anybody believes it. I was a student, first semester student at UTEP, 1990 something, early 1990s. And I was working out. I walked out of the gym. This was at UTEP. So Don Haskins.
All swole. You were all swole.
Yeah. I thought it was anyway. Don Haskins was maybe one of two venues in El Paso for big events. And, that's where the basketball team plays. So walking down the sidewalk to get to my vehicle, and these buses are just, driving by me. And I just kept walking, I want to see what's up with that. And I said, I'm going to go until somebody stops me. And somebody did stop me eventually. Well, it was Metallica. And one of the buses opened up, and after a little smoke, a bunch of security, a bunch of girls, here comes Lars Ulrich, hobbling off the stairs. Yeah.
Wow.
So he just happened to turn my way. I just waved, I figure that's about as good as it's going to get. But he actually waved me over. I shook his hand, and he said, "Hey, you're going to the show tomorrow or whenever." I think they were there for the sound check. I said, "No." I said, "I'm a poor college student," which I was. I said, "But, love you guys. I love what you do." So he said, "Come back tomorrow. I'll have 2 tickets for you."
Whoa.
So I said, "No way. This is the early 90s. We didn't." So I drove straight from there to my friend's house. I said, "You're not going to believe what just happened. I can't prove it, but."
Because there were no cell phones.
No.
What a ripoff.
Yeah. No pictures, no nothing.
You had to draw caveman art on the wall of the cave.
So I said, "Hey, let's just go. Worst thing that could happen is we're going to hang out with a bunch of rockers. Eventually just secondhand, pot smoke and all that."
Secondhand.
We went to Will Call, and guess what? There was 2 tickets there.
Wow.
He actually did it.
He came through.
Because he had me give my name to one of his security people. So
somebody who would remember, not him.
Not him. He would not. And 5 minutes after we met, he was,
Was there a handwritten note from Lars that said, "Love you, Javier, love Lars," with lipstick?
No, but there were 2 tickets around the stage, around, I don't know.
Wow.
I hear
right
that,
up front.
Yeah, I hear that, they do that. They save certain spots just for whatever.
For randoms.
Not poor college students, but I got 2 seats.
That's the Black Album, too. That was... They had the snake pit in front, right?
Yeah.
Did you go in the snake pit?
I was not necessary. I mean, I've always liked Metallica. So the funny thing is, that was my first concert and the last concert I've attended, because they just came to Cowboy Stadium.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Oh, because there was... Okay, gotcha.
Oh, so that you've been to other concerts and then now...
Yeah, fast forward 28 years later, a friend of mine said, "Hey, I've got an extra ticket to Metallica here at Dallas at Cowboy Stadium. You want to come?" Sure.
You can't pay for a Metallica concert.
I cannot pay for a Metallica concert, and I was on the floor, and I needed earplugs like these because I could not stand the noise. I could not, it was way too loud.
Did you wear those earplugs?
I did not.
That would be something.
One of my bucket list items for this was I got to be the halftime announcer for my high school football. Not the football team. Oh. The drill team in the band. And this is why I got these. And I love them. I keep them in the office and, so, but I've, yeah. So anyway.
Javier, let's go back to the beginning. What got you into insurance? Because I'm sure when you were young, you thought about all the cool things that you could be. And it was either a firefighter or an insurance salesman.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
It was definitely since I was born. No. In 1995, well, let's go 1 year before that. 1994, I quit college, and I haven't really said that loudly more than once. It's probably a second time. Well, but I was lost. I was a psychology major. I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I was married to my wife, and I thought it was going to be a counselor or whatever. Not the thing for me. So in the interim, I had a friend in the church we used to go to, and he said, "Hey, I found something. It's going to sound like a racket, but it's true." And he shows me a check, and it's for $1,800. And he says, "This is for one sale." It was life insurance. And so he explained how it works. So you got to go. I mean, I was always, 94. I was 22. So he said, "You got to go get a license. But when you do, you come join this company." It's called Family Life back then, a little agency out of Texas, and they were getting their leads out of. So the minute people would close a loan on a house, we get these little sort of rectangular pieces of paper with leads. Now I think about it, so I don't know if the rules were the same back then, but it kind of broke a bunch of rules because we were literally getting the leads with everything, probably except social security numbers on there. But we had this process where, so I got my license, obviously, and because I saw that check, I just kept a copy of that check. I showed my wife, and I said, it would take me about 2.5 months to make that. I was trying to keep 3 jobs at the time. I was a bartender. I was even a substitute teacher, worked at UPS for a little bit. I said, I'd have to work 3 months to get this. This is one deal, one contract. And so,
she's like, why are you talking to me?
Yeah. So back then, when I got the license, Life Health, this was 1995. And then we had back then literally presentation manuals with pictures. We had this whole system. It was the guy that was your guest before this nailed it right on the money. If you do the same thing over and over, because that's what we did. We trained the same exact way, even the way you walked up to the door, because we were knocking on doors, and the way the conversation went and everything. So they said, we had a sales manager, and he said, "You do this 10 times, you'll get 1 or 2 deals out of it." So the first time I got a commission check, it was over $2,000, and I could not believe it. And like the other guy said, I was hooked. So that was 1995. And in one of the classes for my license, I met a man who owned a funeral home. I didn't know it then, but he said, "Hey, if you like this business, I've got something for you. So meet me whatever day in the morning." And I did, and I drive up. I had already sort of started with the life insurance with Family Life. But he said, I got something else for you. I drove up, it's a funeral home. And I said, the last time I had been in a funeral home was about 12 years before that. We had a year where we lost 2 aunts, but since then I had not been in a funeral home. Certainly not for a job. So I said I would be here. So I walked in, and every funeral home has life agents. I don't know if you guys know that. But
they're death agents.
Death and life agents, right? There's a very customized product sold in funeral homes. And it'd take a whole nother deal to explain how that works. But that's what the job was for me, because he knew I had a license. But while we were talking, he had a family walk in, just lost a 2-year-old child. And so, one of 2 things happens that moment. Most people, they want to run away from that because it was so tragic. Because it was an accident, but her own grandfather ran her over. So the guy's like, "We're going to have to cut this meeting short." I said, "I understand." But I asked, could I stay? Maybe I can help in some way. And so that's the moment I knew I would be in the funeral business. That was my calling, so to speak. That's what I call it.
Man, so emotional, right?
Yeah, it was, because I could see the mother. His front wall was a bunch of glass. I can see mom, of course, with a bunch of people, and she could barely walk, which understandable. But I just felt I had to be there and felt I needed to know what that was like. And so that's how that started. I was the life agent for that funeral home, let's say for a year, and then I started mortuary school in 96. So finished that. In Texas, it's an associate's program. It's different in every state, and then you serve a year internship after that. And that's how that started, and that was my life for 20 years. But I kept my life license. I was always a life agent for the funeral homes where I was. And so that's that. But But the hook for insurance specifically was that moment when I saw that pay stub for that life sale, because the guy was like, "This is," and he told me, he said, "This feels like a racket, but it's, here it is." So, and that's what it was. I mean, I made more money in about 3 or 4 months that I was with that life company that I would have made the entire year with the other 3 jobs I was trying to hold. So that's where it was. Now, the other thing about this is I've been an Allstate customer since 1992 with my wife. Same agent, same company. Never even shopped it around. So when, I guess the moment when I decided to become an Allstate agent was probably October of 2014. After all that time in funeral service, I had a moment. I said, I'm 41 and I could be in this same position 10 years from now, which was very comfortable, or I can make a move. So on my birthday the next year in February, I got a letter from Allstate inviting me to look at the agency opportunity. And that was February 2015, and I was in training in July. I've always liked the insurance business, the way it works and what it can do for you. I just didn't know that's the way it was going to work out. I saw myself as a funeral home, owner. At some point, I had a shot in 2009, but it didn't work out. So, So I jumped into Allstate because that's literally the only property and casualty company that I know, and my agent is one of the best in the country, certainly in Texas, Hall of Fame, Inner Circle every year, the whole thing. So I said, well, if I could do what he does, then.
Is it Bill?
It's not Bill. It's Jeff Hemans, if you've ever heard of him.
Yeah.
But I know Bill. So I know he just retired, but no, it's not Bill. But just as good as Bill.
Mm-hmm.
They all seem to be from that same generation. There's still a group of Texas agents that are from sort of that 25 to 30 years ago. They're all just as good. So
Hustled.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
crazy, man.
That's the story in a nutshell of how I got to be in this office. But it's the hardest thing I've ever done. That's not saying it negatively. It just is. And I'm a mortician. I have seen the worst of humanity, so to speak.
Brutal.
But it's just lack of understanding of what needs to be done. I really enjoy your podcast because every time I take something away, the lady that was 2 shows ago said, if you don't have the money, if you don't have the whatever, don't blame Allstate for it not working. I was like, yeah, she's right. But you also got to understand how to do it in the beginning. I wish I had known some of you guys, or especially there's a lady who does a lot of Allstate loans, and I wish I would have known her, especially because the money that I had available to me to do this just completely probably did it the worst way possible. But but here I am.
You don't know what you don't know is the problem, and then when you know, you're like, dang it, why didn't I know that? if I only knew.
If I only knew. But so I tell everybody, how's it going? And I say, well, I'm surviving. Although this year, I really feel is the year that we can take it past the just survival stage. I don't. It's too hard to just survive. It's not a job. It's not something you just do. It's got to be the greatness of it. I can go to Hawaii 3 times a year like Craig.
I don't have audio.
We all want to be Craig.
Yeah. I've been to Hawaii once, which is the only time I've been somewhere where I said I don't want to go back to Texas. So you go on vacation, after a while you're like, I'm ready to go back home. Not Hawaii. Can you hear us? You can hear us.
I think Craig, your microphone says that it's muted.
Oh, hold on.
I can hear you now.
Yeah. There we go.
We can.
I can hear you, and you can hear me.
Whoever couldn't see that, Craig was freaking out a little bit there for a second.
Yeah.
Totally calm. It's all good. Don't freak out.
We're talking about Hawaii.
Hawaii.
I've been once, and that's the only place that I I would be okay if we never came back from.
Whoa.
I mean, I like vacations, but after a while, well, it's time to go home. It's time to get back at it. But I just love how we went to Oahu. We were there 10 days. We were actually there for a wedding. And, but it was, oh my gosh, it was so beautiful. So
we get back and we get on VRBO and book the place for the next time. Every single time, the moment we get back, it's like the first thing we do.
Yep.
Then we feed the dogs.
Then you figure out what's going on, right?
Yeah. So I want to bring some levity because, for whatever reason, talking about mortician stuff seems to be a little bit of a, sad.
Yeah.
So how many times have you heard the joke, I heard people are dying to get in here?
All the time. In fact, when I was at a chamber event last night and I dressed up for you guys, well, this is actually where I'm most comfortable with my coat and tie, but yeah, when the first meet and we get into that part, boom, there's
happens. Is it almost every time?
Every time.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we
it must be hardwired into our DNA.
Yeah. And then we get into the stories. I heard that, people move their fingers and all these stories. And I'm like, they're all really BS.
Well, they do move their fingers. So.
There's nothing moves. It is, and you can ask my wife this. We always say, when I'm out in 3 a.m, because we get called for someone, it's not them I'm afraid of. It's the living around me, who maybe be out drinking or just out for
right.
And that's who I'm worried about.
Well, it's the cuckoos are out at 3 a.m.
So not the deceased. There's nothing going on there except whatever I'm there to do. So, yeah. So no, yeah, but yes, that's the way it always starts. People are dying to see you.
That is so good.
Yeah.
So you married your wife prior to owning the funeral home, right?
Yes, we got married at 19. So one of my sort of motivational stories is there's absolutely no reason she and I should be married because she did not like me in high school. I've known her since like the 5th grade. I took, played football, played sports. I took that route. She did not like to hang around that crowd. So fast forward to we graduated from high school. Everything's real now. And we end up at the same sort of after Thanksgiving, kind of thing, once we were out of high school. And I was a completely different person. I wasn't who I was in high school. So that's where it started. And one thing I would say, about this business, which one of your guests, the man who lives in Arizona, does insurance, mortgages, everything. I forget his name. Botman, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I really like that one because even if you hear his videos, he'll say, I don't like insurance or financial service or anything. He's got a much higher calling than that. And when I saw my wife, I said, okay, even though I've known her forever, I just really got to know her now. How am I going to convince her? Because I knew after that night, I knew that was one for me. But how am I going to convince her? How am I ever going to sell her on spending the rest of her life with me?
Yeah.
And we did. I mean, that was the fall of Thanksgiving 1991, and here we are, 2 girls. We didn't have children until we got married right at 20, actually 19, and then but we didn't have kids till 7 years later. So now our oldest is 20 and 18. She's about to graduate from high school. So
oh, cool, man. Well, congrats.
That's
awesome. That was a long time.
Thank you. Anytime that I'm really feeling like nothing's working or I made a wrong choice, I think of that because really there's no reason she and I should be married at all.
So yeah. You're just like, if I could sell her on the idea that she should
Correct.
marry me, then I can sell anything.
And I can figure this out somehow. That's exactly right. And she agrees.
That's awesome.
She tells people all the time, oh my gosh, I used to hate we open the yearbook and it's not good. I don't like my children to read my yearbook and all the stuff that was in it. So but it's there and it's history and it is what it is. But December was 28 years, 27
Wow.
married, 28 together. Yeah.
What was her reaction when you wanted to get into the funeral home business?
Since we've been together so long, she knows when something serious is going to happen.
Yeah.
She just knows it ahead of time. And she just kind of waits for me to say it. For instance, for the funeral business, I was a psychology major. I thought I was going to be a counselor. I don't know. I sort of got in that business and it's not for me. So when I told her about, basically selling insurance for funeral homes, really weird. It was just, what is that about? And I explained what it was. But then now if you talk to her, she'll tell you that from that first moment she knew because of the way I was talking about it. I told her about the 2-year-old little girl and just the way it was coming. And then it just kept growing from that moment on, to where I told her I was going to mortuary school probably about 9 months into me going to the work at the funeral home. She already knew. I mean, it was not even a surprise. She already knew. And she was happy because I hadn't finished college. Technically didn't finish, but, I did finish this part of it. I had a great time in mortuary school, if you can have a great time in mortuary school. I was the president of my class. I mean, it was just a good experience. And so it was not a surprise at all. Not a surprise. Same thing happened with the agency situation. She knew something was up that moment I had where I said, okay, I've got to make a jump or a decision here. And she could see it. She didn't say anything again. So then when I, brought her the letter, I had already taken the online test. And it's funny because I took the test like on a Tuesday, didn't hear for like a week and a half, but a sales leader called me in between. We actually had a meeting and all. And then the original, I guess, recruiter, whoever at the region called and said, hey, looks like you're a candidate. We have some opportunities in Houston. Houston's 4 hours south of me. I'm not moving to Houston. I love Houston people, Houston agents. You guys probably know some, but I'm not moving to Houston. I'm just not. But it was kind of funny. But the point is that, again, she knew. She knew something was up, something was coming. Now, this was a lot scarier, I mean, this is not, I'm going from this job to that job. She knew what it implied and the risk and the, whatever money we'd been able to save, the money that was available to us as a loan, that sort of thing. So she kind of knew. Yeah.
That's cool.
And so you took over an agency, right?
Yes. What I call a little agency.
Mm-hmm.
If I went back and really looked at it, it was probably just over 400,000 in premium.
Okay.
Little.
Oh yeah. They kind of sold it to me at 600, but if we really look now that I understand the stuff, it was really probably closer to 400,000. But back then it was ADB. So we qualified. So I was really sort of a hybrid scratch agent. I think they had a name for it, like a no bid or something.
Yeah.
So I had both the scratch contract, which restarted, but also had a little book. I don't recommend it. If anybody comes to me and asks my opinion on that, I give them the truth. I don't recommend that because you're going to have as many or more headaches, even though it's not that many customers, but it just depends on what the agent before you did or didn't do, with the money I had in hand, I would have been better off, me personally, the way I am, buying a more stable, larger book, putting all that money into a down payment for a loan and having a little more time to understand what the heck I was doing, instead of, the enhanced comp was great, but, I had 2 staff in the beginning. I think both scored like a 40 on the test twice. You guys know all those stories. So, and here I am trying to make, everything else work, the numbers and make the tiers and all that stuff. So, for me personally, if I had to do it again, I would have probably looked for, I'm not talking about a big book, 3 million, something like that, but I had the the money and the resources and everything else to have that done. But I didn't know any better. So the little book sounded good because it sounded doable for someone coming in with no experience. And when you looked at the lease and the stuff, okay, you think of the worst case scenario, right? Where you don't sell anything, you don't make any money, but you can still pay the bills. But not really the way to look at it. It's just not. You got to get a fast start from the beginning.
You do, yeah. And I think part of it, gosh, and even in hindsight with myself, it's being plugged in. It's being plugged in and talking to a whole bunch of other agents.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like that's what, this is what ultimately this podcast helped us do, is talk to a whole bunch of agents, and it definitely opened our eyes on a lot of stuff. And it's like, dang, like, well, that makes sense. And I wish I would have thought of it that way, or you know what I mean? It helps you steer the ship better. And to your point, what's great that I like about your story is that you're saying, yeah, this year is going to be different. And it's going to be different because you're doing that research. You're realizing, like, okay, if I just make these tweaks and stuff like that, because you're learning the stuff to do that. Right.
Yeah. And in 2015, so September 2015 was my start date. I knew exactly 2 agents. They're still agents, they're great agents, but that's all I knew. And at some point I would call them like 5 times a day, and I was like, but I would be embarrassed. I was like, I know these people have things to do, right. But I didn't know about Facebook groups. I didn't know about, podcasts. I know you guys know Justin Harkleroad. The first insurance motivational type video that I ever saw was his. He had a group where you would post your 3 goals. You guys remember that?
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah.
First video I ever saw. Now, my agent looks like me, suit, coat, office, very simple, conservative. That's why I thought all Allstate agents.
You're looking at Harkleroad in a t-shirt
and I turn on so when I found these groups, the first thing I opened up was one of his videos. And I've told him this story. He knows this story. That's when I looked at the video, I said, what did I get myself into? But that was a turning point, because I said, okay, I had a decision to make. I can keep being closed-minded and go this way, or I can understand that this is really something much bigger than what I thought, and understand the whole thing. That's what happened. After that, I called him a couple of times, and I actually met him. Bill has a Texas event, Texas Leaders. And so he's been a speaker at that. And that's how I met him. But anyway, that was a moment for me on videos. But then, we got groups, and we formed a Texas group. I'm actually one of the moderators on there. I've had the opportunity to really pay it forward from the thousands of calls I made to, once I started meeting agents, then just the people coming in after me, and I'm happy to do it, because without you guys, actually Craig was one, when I found Agency Vault, and then I don't know if you remember, I was on with you on a call. Yeah. We had that, forecasting, stuff like that. I think my opinion is if people find you guys or other people that keep digging for stuff, they're going to find what they need, and they're going to be just fine. It's 100%. Not everything fits everybody, but when you find what works for you, that's how you keep going.
I think that,
you can go.
I was going to say, I think you nailed it on the head, though. It's like you change your mindset. I mean, it could be anybody. Like you see it all the time. There's a million programs or groups that you can join or whatever, right? If you're on that road, you're going to find what you need to find through any of them. Really. Right. I mean, marginally, maybe one might fit you better. Maybe it might inspire you more, but ultimately it's you.
Right.
And you're going to get out of it what you need to. And if you're on that road and you have that mindset of, I'm going to do this, then, I mean, really, it's you that's doing it. It's not the groups. It's not the person. It's not the person that's inspiring you. You know what I mean? It's ultimately you.
Yes, that's exactly right.
There's so many different ways to approach this. It's like I feel like I say this every single time. There's so many different ways to skin the cat. There's so many ways to be an agency owner, whether you wear a suit and a tie, or you wear T-shirts, or you have tattoos, or what. It doesn't matter, right? As long as you plug in and you get to know. And I think that, previously agents were on an island. They're the one-man band. They're stuck. They can never get their head above water and look around and see what's going on. And now with technology, we're so plugged in. I mean, we're in 3 different places geographically, looking at each other as if we're in the same room together.
Right. Exactly.
We've even talked about it with Meerman, right? David Meerman Scott. He said that, like, physiologically, our brain thinks that we're in the same room. Like, we have the same emotions. We're talking the same way. The only thing is we're not smelling each other, but we're right here,
which might be a great thing.
Which is great, especially sometimes.
I took a shower, man.
You do not want to come in this office, but
Craig ate a burrito earlier. So
always. And so, I mean, luckily the microphone only picks up right here. So, but yeah, I mean, it's amazing what you can do and how you can plug in. And I think that, if any of the people just getting into this don't realize, or they're timid, it's so important to reach out.
Yes.
And meet the other agents. And, the really old ones like me that are, in their 90s are happy to talk to people. And, Jason loves to talk to people. And it's just, and you, right? Like, we get together and that's why I love the events.
Yeah.
The events are great. The dudes event will be incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. And one of the things that I do, which has been tossed around by other people, it's not my idea. I will take a week, and it's not the same day or anything special. And I will call somebody I don't know. It usually is an agent. And people ask me, well, how do you know who to call? I say, you know what? It just sort of happens. I see a post on Facebook, or, somebody's worried about whatever, and I have maybe something that can help. I just call them.
Yeah.
Just call our office, send the message, whatever the case may be. And I end up getting more out of that than I intended to give, if that makes sense. And so that's how I've met a lot of people, because but I can do that. I know a lot of people can't. My wife would never. She's never gonna. I mean, she doesn't even go to local events with me, so it would freak her out.
She also doesn't own an agency. Like, if you can't do that, like, if that's, you know what I mean, you should and you can't, then it's like you probably shouldn't have an agency.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? So it's like, and
the guy, the guest you had before me said that, you made all this money in 8 months, but then he really found his true calling in that process. I tell people that also. I said, you start out here. Allie Donner said it when she said she's really more of a service person. She's not, and who would know it, right? She's all over the place on Facebook, and you think that she really says she's introverted. And so,
in her pajamas all day.
Yeah, and so
it's great.
You find your calling. Yeah, and that's fine. You find it. And I tell people ask me all the time, would you do it again? I said, yes, because I was super comfortable where I was, making great money, benefits, the whole thing. Never worried about my paycheck, but I also knew that too much comfort was, eventually I wake up one day and, you have nothing, literally. So you find that calling, whatever it actually ends up being, in this process, and that's sort of what happened to me. It's still a work in progress, not quite there yet, but yes, I would do it again in an instant. Even though
that's awesome.
We put all our money, a lot of money in this thing, and I wish I had some of it back with staff and marketing. And people talk about leads all the time. What leads are working? I think Craig said it one time. I said, and I agree with you. People ask that all the time. What leads are you guys using? I'm like, it's not the leads. It's just what happens when that lead comes into you. What process does it go through? So I know a guy that built his business on aged leads. How old are those? How many people have called those people?
Yeah,
nobody recently.
Yeah, so
that's the beauty.
You believe in what you're doing, as far as that process, and guess what? It's going to work. So a huge agent in Florida who does not pay commissions. You guys probably know who he is, but when I say that to people, are like, "There's no way." I said, "It is a way," and he's an 8-figure agent that I've talked to a couple of times, and so it works for him. Can it work for everybody?
Does he buy leads?
I'm not sure exactly what he does for marketing.
Domingo?
No.
Stop.
No, I know who Domingo is, but no, it's not Domingo. But what really impressed me is the team concept. His office is run like nothing I've ever seen. So, everybody's
That's
on
awesome.
a salary. Yeah. Would you? How many of us would bring a bunch of people in just on a salary? Probably none. But whatever he's doing is working really well. So.
Yep. There's different ways to skin a cat. We just said that we were talking to somebody else and said
Over
the
and
same
over.
thing. It's super interesting. And I don't like it when people say like, oh, I don't. But one of the worst. So I came in and I really wanted to do like internet leads. I just felt like, dude, everybody searches for stuff on the internet.
Right.
So it's like, that's where we're going.
Yeah.
So to me, doing a barbecue,
Mm-hmm.
out in the parking lot sounds very uninteresting to me, because it's like, that's not the way I would never buy insurance from somebody that's doing a barbecue or
Right.
I don't know, whatever.
I know
all
you
these-
slam your brakes on when you see a barbecue on the side of the road and just pull in, what are you selling?
Well, I got to grab a couple legs, maybe a thigh.
Right. No, absolutely.
So I was telling somebody, a bigger agent that I reached out to, and they said that, you can get that to start your journey and start your sales, but
Mm-hmm.
he's like, you can't build a business on that.
Right.
And I was like, and that to this day bothers me that he told me that, because A, yeah, you can. B, it's just, there's not one way. Like, why would somebody have the gall to think that their way is the only way or something? You know what I mean?
I do, because in funeral service, things change very, very, very slowly, but they change. And so if you are that type of person that embraces the change, because it has happened within the last 5 years, probably 10 years. There's this group of younger, professionals that embrace the change, and down here in the South, what they're doing up in California and places like that. It's basically heresy, but guess what? It's working, and it's working very well. And
What are they doing?
Well, it's changing a little bit, but traditionally, funerals are directed by basically one thing, which is mostly someone's faith in the afterlife, or their religion or faith, and or their ability to purchase, or to buy. A funeral can be $100,000 if you wanted to. It could be less than $1,000. It's whatever dictates your belief, that's going to dictate what you do. And so traditionally here in Texas, places like Texas, the South, we're still very, very much in tune with the traditional way of doing things, traditional burial, traditional wake, etc. In other places, it's just not the case. Plus, there's other methods. So, the dispositions people know of are burial or cremation. There's other things that are coming up that people are, they don't even want to know about. But better for the environment, yes. Better for, the expense of it, yes. So things are changing a lot. So, but the point is, if you have a conviction in what you're doing, it's going to work. It's going to work for you.
True.
Internet leads don't work for me because, number one, I'm pretty technology dumb. I'm just happy I can do this. But just the frustration of how that flows, it just drives me crazy. I'm a people person. Yeah.
It does drive you crazy. But it's like, I like spending time on that. You know what I mean? So for me, it's great. And for you, like, that's where this is so cool, is that we can do different stuff, but it's also not trying to do something that you don't want to do. Like, don't do something you don't want to do.
Right. Exactly.
Crazy.
My ideal perfect day is when I've had like 10 people come in my office and we sit down and I'm exhausted. I can't talk anymore. I feel like I've accomplished a lot.
Yeah.
The inverse of that would be, you know, you had, I don't know, 20 leads or whatever come in, whatever your daily is. Never talk to really a person or never see a person, but you might feel the same as I do. You know, maybe we wrote the same business, but I did it in person or, you know, whatever I do.
Yep.
But that's where I shine. I bought some warm transfers in the very beginning. I mean, I literally almost had a sales leader grab my wallet and say, okay, let's use this credit card. We got to buy some. I didn't know what a warm transfer was. So phone starts ringing. I don't know what to do with those people that are calling. I don't know what to say, you know, and they're what, $50 a pop or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, those add up quick.
Yeah. So I said, all right, I appreciate you guys. I know you got a job to do, but this does not work for me. Direct mail works for me. I mean, where I can have an interaction with someone where I know, you know, what, it's just a different thing. But if internet's, I had an LSP that I wish I had the money I had in the beginning, because he was all about the internet leads, and he would have been great, but I didn't have the money anymore, so couldn't quite get there. But we're still friends. We're still talking. So
there you go.
That's the thing. I mean, it goes in and out. I mean, one of the hardest things to do, you know, is keep staff on. So it's like, I mean, you can never do the woulda, coulda, shoulda, because it's going to be gone anyways. Like whatever it is, it's constantly changing, you know?
And so it's done over.
Yeah.
We're actually getting along better talking about that LSP now than before, because now we can talk openly and you can tell me, you know, where I didn't do it or vice versa. And we're talking about some things that actually might be better the second go around. I know that's not a popular thing to bring back somebody that has been there, but again, you know, you gotta make those choices. So,
and there's no wrong way. Like, honestly, I don't think that that's a horrible. I don't think that's a rule.
It depends.
Yeah,
it just depends.
You know,
I mean,
I've said to myself, because I brought somebody back and then it was a train wreck, I've said, I'm never doing that again. And there's something about always and never is that they're almost always not the right words.
Correct.
You know, I guess they're probably always not the right words. And it's the only time you can use it. I've just recently brought somebody back. Now it's about a month and a half, who it ended bad. Like we were, you know, attorney letters, the whole, like bad.
Right.
And then, you know, some things happened. She came back and asked, and I was like, are you kidding? Are you kidding me? And I'm like, okay, let me not have an emotional, let me just look at it objectively. Yeah. You know, people change, things happen, whatever. Right. And so came in, she's totally different, like a totally different person. And she's here. She's had her best month she's ever had. Mm-hmm. And she's awesome. Yeah. And it's like, you know, if I had stuck to this rule, then she wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have had 20,000 in premium.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
And so it's important to, you know, I mean, maybe I was the jackass in the situation, you know, I'm willing to accept that that's highly probable, you know, and so
I'm totally, I totally didn't judge or understand this person when he was in our office. If I had, would have been a whole different story. He might be an agent by now, to be honest with you, but I didn't. You know, I wanted it to be my way, and if you're not doing it this way, then it's not right. Which, by the way, is the other thing. I came in with the expectation it's all about me, and it's really not. You
right.
The minute you understand it's not about you, and it is about developing people and building teams and all that. Because I also know Tolga, and you know, I've talked to him. The minute you understand that, things change, you know.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because who was it? Was it Jay who said, you know, you put your name on when you start as an agent, all that. Well, everybody wants to talk to you. All the phone calls. Yeah. Right. Not a good thing. not a good thing, because
No.
it could be just, I need my ID card, whatever. And it's not growing. You're not doing the things you need to be doing. So it took me a while, because in funeral service, it is about you a lot more. But not in this business, and you either accept it or you don't. That's one of the things that happened when I saw Justin's video. I had to sit back and I said, okay, I have to understand what I need to do. So that's what I'm doing, trying to do anyway.
And how has it changed for you since that realization?
Well, number one, when I came in, you have this visual of being, business owner. Your name's going to be on a door. Everything's going to be great.
Serving the ego, right?
Yeah, exactly. Then you get in there and you're humbled. The fire hose opens, right? Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I sat in my office with the lights off and just staring into darkness and, just wondering what the heck. And so you have to have those moments, and that's why I credit that moment watching that video, because I had to say, okay, this is what really this is about, and it's not bad. It's actually really great, but either I change or I don't. If I don't change, I wouldn't be probably here talking to you guys. If I do, even though it's going to be really hard to undo, I was 42 when I came in, it's still possible. It's still doable. And so I tell people all the time, you got to have that. And your guests that talked about the much higher calling than being insurance or mortgages or whatever, you got to have that really clear. Why, I saw myself as my agent. That's great. You take the good stuff from him, but what are you about? I have a friend who lives in England, and he comes to visit about once a year if he can. And he's also in the funeral business there. But when he got to the States, to Texas, he was driving from the airport to my office because he wanted to see the office. And on the way, where I'm in a different office now, but on the way from the highway, you will see no less than about 4 Allstate agencies to get to mine. Right? And they're all great agents. They're all great people. But when he got to my office, first thing he asked me was, hey, if I didn't know you and I wanted, your product, what's the difference between you and, the other 4 people down the street? The sign's the same, whatever. So what are we about? You got to make sure people understand that. You got to have that super clear. And then you got to have a plan to implement that and teach as many people as you can about it, because, especially the way it is now, I mean, it's all about growth. So if it's only me and one other person, or just me, or it's just not going to work. I mean, it's just not going to work. And that's a big problem in the funeral business, because it does stay about the person, because there are great people who do it. But if you don't pass on your skills to others, or if you don't teach them, we're only going to get older, Yeah. We're not going to be able to do what we used to do. And so, what have you built? What do you have? So that's where the big mindset shift for me has been. It took a long time, but I'm finally there. So that's what I tell people all the time. It's got to be way above, you and what you represent now. You just got to develop people constantly.
Yep.
You guys say hire more than you need, or that sort of thing.
So what would you say the number one takeaway through this experience, and for advice that you'd give another insurance agent maybe coming into the industry, or just your number one piece of advice?
That would be it. It would be to have them make sure you understand. Because when I came in, I had this theory in my head that I probably understood a good 60 to 70% of what this was, just based on my, life insurance experience. And you get in and you realize I maybe understand 10%, but all that stuff comes to you, the training, the product, the whatever. But if you don't have that clear vision of what you want to do with it, why you're here, why I left a career 20 years that was 6 figures and, benefits and all that, then you get lost in you'll get lost in the purpose and anything. I mean, all these groups and any little change, and we're up in arms about everything, right?
Everybody.
You get lost in that, and you can get so lost you're done. You won't pass the securities. You won't. You just won't. And so I tell people my number one thing is you have to have that clear vision of because you could come in this and not really like what it is. Nobody likes insurance. He's right. But if you can make it, you make the kind of money that you can, then maybe your higher purpose is to do this other thing or build this or let it run for itself for a while, and you spend your time doing what really matters to you. If that never gets fuzzy, it's going to be just fine. That's what I see in the people who do it big or who survive. The ones who don't, they lose a vision. They're capable. They're good salespeople. They understand insurance, but they lose the vision. It's done. It's because, and I go back to my my wife, because aside from the fact that she didn't like me, we had very different upbringings, and so in the beginning there were some challenges. Different faiths. Her parents were divorced early on in her life. Mine were not. So when you get together, you bring different playbooks, so to speak, for marriage, right? And so this is the same thing. If you can't, she and I always had a really, really clear focus of what we wanted, and it's kept alive. It's the same thing for this. So I thought I knew what I wanted to be in this. It's not the same now. That's okay, because I I found it. I've survived. I talked to so many people, met so many people, and I just found the way to stay on the boat, on the train.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Well, that's awesome, man. And I think that a lot of people, there's definitely some people out there that this is really gonna resonate with. And I mean, it's not all fun and roses, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
there's definitely a time where it's a grind fest, and what sounds cool about your story though is that you're getting to that point where you're at the end of the grind. It sounds like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. We're a small agency, we're less than 2 million. I tell people all the time, if you're starting scratch, whatever it is, I talk to people like that all the time, because my hope is to make them avoid some of the things that you're not going to be able to do all of it, but hopefully they avoid a lot of the things that I screwed up in. Number one. Number two, don't lose that. Why did you get in this to begin with? There had to be a reason. You just didn't wake up one day and, and just say, well, I think I'll try this Allstate thing, see what happens. It's too complicated to just do that.
Yeah.
Whether you were recruited or not, I answered a letter. Some people are recruited, whatever it is. There's a lot of it, a lot behind it. So that's always been my message especially with the Texas group. We have, we have about 1,200 agents in Texas. I'd say we get anywhere from 15 to 20 a month. Who knows? Some of us find the group, some don't. I decided a long time ago I wasn't going to go out looking for people for that group. I was going to let them find us, because those were the people that were going to make it anyway. That's the way I think, and hopefully that's not wrong, but that's worked out pretty well.
Well, that is awesome, Javier. We kept you way longer than we said we would. And what a compelling story, and a 2-time Metallica freeloader. I mean, it's just it's remarkable. So thank you so much. And we really appreciate you coming on and telling your story. And I think that, anybody that is listening from Texas, there is a secret group that you're able to get to. Hit Javier on the Facebook.
Yeah, Allstate Facebook. It's not secret. Well, it's secret, but it's not. You just got to be a Texas agent.
He's not going to find you.
Secret handshakes. There's some fees involved. Some of that stuff.
Cut him a check for $10K and you're in, and call it a day. So thank you so much, man. I hope that you can get away a couple days without anybody telling you the joke. And we'll see you soon.
I'm used to it. I really appreciate it, guys. I really enjoyed the podcast. I hope this is a really good thing. I know you've been told that, but It really is for me. You're my ride home, my way here most of the times.
Thank you. That's awesome, man.
Thanks.
I haven't met you, Jason. I don't know if I'm going to be at the Vegas event because I have a senior and graduations around the same time. I don't know if you guys are going, but
yeah, for sure.
we'll see.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go.
Yeah,
it's hard. I hear you, dude. I got 4 kids.
We'll be passing out Insurance Dudes merch.
And by the way, man, I'm sorry about Kobe. I can't get over it. I saw, Mario Luna. You guys know Mario Luna? Independent, and he's all over the place.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, he should be your next guest. But I talked to him yesterday, and I just can't get over that.
It's crazy.
It's a reminder of how quickly things can change, and nobody escapes visiting you.
Yeah. I saw an interview today. Someone said there's an appointment we never get to cancel or change, and he was right. I lost my own mother last year, but different situations, right? But still, I mean, guy gets in. Yeah, it's a helicopter, but that's the way he got around. It doesn't matter. It could be a car.
Right.
It's on the way to his daughter's game with his daughter. I mean, just
awful.
But anyway, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And
we'll see you soon, man. If you are in Vegas, we'll definitely come over and say hi to the man in the bow tie. Thank you, Javier.
All right. See you guys.
Okay. See you, brother.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye. Jason, I would be remiss if I didn't bring up one of our sponsors, EverQuote.
Oh, tell me a little bit about them.
Well, I've been using them for a couple months, and I'll tell you that the results are delightful. It's been now a couple months, and over time, my cost per sale has dropped every single week.
That is awesome. Tell me, so you're on a specific program with them?
Yeah, it's called the Accelerated Growth Program. And this bad boy gets you a better deal on those leads, so way less expensive. And you get a consultant that's going to actually go over your results to make sure you're tracking properly.
And so you've been doing that for the last couple of months and consulting with them?
Yeah. And I see everybody complain about leads and this and that. And it's like, look, if you don't have a process to track and measure your results, then I can totally get it. You don't even know what your results are, right?
And you asked them to give all the insurance dudes and dudettes out there a killer deal on this, and they came through, didn't they?
They came through, and I know you're going to take advantage of it, but if they go to go.everquote.com/insurance dudes, that's go.everquote.com/insurance dudes, then guess what?
What?
Deal City.
I'm there.
Do it.
Hey, you've got to check out the Insurance Dudes Inner Circle coming soon, where you get extended interviews as well as live coffee talks in our private Facebook group. Join the mailing list today at theinsurancedudespodcast.com. Hey, thanks for checking out the Insurance Dudes. Hey, please subscribe. We got some really great stuff coming out.